Alright, so welcome back to another Dead by Daylight patch note video, this one featuring on the 9.5.0 public test build changes that are going to be happening in the near future. This one being labeled the All-Kill Comeback. Thus, of course, being focused around the complete rework of the Trickster Killer on top of some minor changes to both the First and the Ghoul. But another major feature being that we are getting a brand new map called the Trickster's Delusion. A world created within the Trickster's mind and manifested directly by the entity where he would have gotten all the fame that he ever wanted. On top of all these changes, we have a couple of other things, such as Perk Reworks and Perk Changes, but also a major note being that we have a brand new survivor called Tae-Young, who of course also comes with his own 3 brand new perks, which we will get into once we are there. There's also many new other features on top of this, such as brand new prestige rewards, adjustments to the fog vials, and also customizable aura colors. So, without talking too much in the early part here, how about we just get right into the video and I'll explain it all as we go. Alright, so starting off first, we're going to be starting off with the rework towards the Trickster. He's going to be getting a complete overhaul onto the way that both his knives work, the way that you accrue their main event, as well as just everything around his base kit entirely. So we're going to be starting off with some basic stuff for his kits. The Trickster's movement speed has been reduced from 4.6 to 4.4 meters a second, making him one of the slower killers once more. On top of that, his blade count has been decreased from 44 to 36, so he has 8 less knives. And on top of that, they've decreased his terror radius from 32 meters to 24 meters to compensate for the reduced movement speed. And from some minor but not entirely noticeable changes towards his knives, they have decreased the time it takes to enter the throw state from 0.35 seconds to 0.3 seconds. Again, not something you'll really notice, but it is there. They've also decreased the time it takes to exit the throw state from 1.25 seconds to 1.15 seconds. Again, minor change you won't really notice. They have also ever so slightly increased the time between blade throws from 0.3 to 0.33 seconds. And finally, they have decreased the blade movement speed while in the throwing state from 3.86 meters to 3.68 meters a second, meaning you are ever so slightly slower while in the throwing state. However, there are some additional changes towards his throws involving the amount of consecutive knife throws you do per throwing state, meaning that these will build up each time you whip out your knives and actually start throwing them, and these counters will be reset once you've exited the throwing state. So, after 8 consecutive blade throws, throwing movement speed will be decreased further to 3.53 meters a second, and after 16 consecutive blade throws, your throwing movement speed will be decreased to a further 3.16 meters a second. However, in addition to this, they also increase the blade throw rate for each blade thrown. After 8 consecutive blade throws, your throw rate will be increased by 50%, and after 16 consecutive ones, it will be increased by 100%. Coming after that, we have some adjustments to the laceration, which is the meter buildup when you land hits on survivors with your blades. Laceration will now only count as whole numbers, which used to decay into decimals, meaning it is no longer the progressive decay that the old state used to have compared to how it is now. It goes by in complete segments. Furthermore, the laceration meter has decreased from 8 to 6, meaning that you require 2 less blades to actually inflict an injury state upon a survivor. The laceration meter decay delay has been decreased from 15 to 12 seconds, now meaning it'll take 3 less seconds for the blade meter to start decaying on survivors. On top of that though, they made it so it takes 3 seconds instead of 2 seconds for 1 stack of laceration to decay. There was also a new visual feedback update for the laceration, meaning that now the visual effect will no longer be on the survivor's screen covering up the UI, it'll instead now display on the survivor directly for both survivors and killers. So moving on to the brand new function, which is style points. Yes, that's right, Trickster has a new style meter. The Trickster is able to perform combos to generate style points via many different forms of actions. We'll get into how these style points work, but we'll first go over how these style points can be accrued. So, starting off with the style point 1s, you can gain 1 style point whenever you hit survivor with a blade on the first hit only, injuring a survivor via your basic attack or laceration, hooking a survivor, basic breaking a down pallet, basic breaking a breakable wall, damaging a generator, or snuffing a boon totem. Some actions you can use to generate 2 style points is hitting a survivor with 4 blades from at least 4 meters without missing or exiting the throw state, so meaning you'll have to land 4 consecutive throws. Hitting a survivor with any blade from more than 16 meters away will generate 2 style points, and also interrupting a survivor, meaning if you were to grab them off of a generator or off of a vault or etc. And finally, there is one action that can generate 3 style points, which is hitting a survivor with a blade through a small gap. So, moving on to what these style ranks actually mean. There are 6 style ranks ranking from E, D, C, B, A, and of course S rank. Style ranks each have their own respective bonus maximum throw rate and locker restocking speed modifiers. The higher the rank, the higher the modifier. Each style rank also of course requires more style ranks to actually approach the next one. Getting from E to D will be much easier than getting from A to S. If you don't reach a higher style rating within a certain amount of time, the rank will regress to the previous rank. And of course, earning a new style rank will refresh the timer for the style rank decay. And an important note is that the style rank combo timer is paused while the Trickster is performing interactions with survivors or interactable objects, meaning that your timer will be paused if you are carrying survivors, reloading lockers, basically doing anything where you will not be able to attack someone else. So, upon reaching S rank, survivors within 44 meters of the Trickster will be revealed with Killer Instinct for 4.4 seconds, meaning you'll get a lot of intel once this triggers. And, of course, at the same time, all survivors are notified of this happening across the trial. While you are in S rank, the Trickster's terror radius will become a 44 meter terror radius, and the lullaby will be disabled. On top of this, the laceration meter will decay 50% slower, blade throw and locker restock speeds are increased to the maximum, and for this duration, the main event can be activated. The S rank has a 66 combo timer, meaning that you have this amount of time to actually activate main events or stay in your enhanced state. S rank cannot be paused or refreshed, unlike the lower style ranks, meaning that you cannot pause it by breaking generators or picking up people. S rank will always revert all the way back to E rank instead of going right back to A rank. This is meaning that you will be on a full reset once this timer is up, regardless of what manner it happens. As for the main event, if you can recall before, it's when you enter a temporary state of infinite knife throws on a very rapid state. You can activate the secondary ability like before to activate main event. They've increased the base duration of the main event from 6 seconds to 8 seconds, and this is no longer affected by combo meters. The Trickster now throws blades at 1.67 times the default blade throw speed. What's important to note, this is not infected by consecutive blade throw and style rank blade throw modifiers, meaning that it will always be at this exact same speed for the main event, regardless of how many knives are thrown and what rank you are at. And when main event is activated, all survivors nearby will be notified of him entering the main event. However, while you are in the main event state, your S rank timer is paused, each blade hitting survivors will award bonus style points, and the Trickster can cancel the main event via the secondary ability button just like before. When the main event ends, the Trickster's power goes on a cooldown for 4 seconds. Like mentioned before, the S rank will reset all the way back to E rank. However, as mentioned a moment ago, you can earn style points by hitting survivors while in the main events. The purpose of this is that you can gain ranks over time based on the amount of hits that you land while in main events, so that way you can get an immediate boost upon ending back to E rank. There's also a complete overhaul of almost every single one of his add-ons for the Trickster, so I'm not going to be going over them here. I will put them on the screen and you may read them if you so wish. It is also worth noting on the side though, any of the CD record related add-ons, such as the Death Throws compilation, will actually alter your chase music based on which ones you are using. So we finally have something very similar to the Legion's add-on where it changes their chase music. Alright, so moving on to some very minor adjustments towards the first, they're decreasing the second phase of the Worldbreaker timer from 60 seconds to 50 seconds. Second phase being the guaranteed amount of time you get after survivors have already used the music to reduce the time of the first 3 quarters. They're also making it so that the Charge Vine Ready sound plays slightly in advance for survivors. For details, it charges at 0.33 seconds and the sound activates at 0.18 seconds now, rather than just being at the exact same time. And also, the Killer base attack launch speed is going to be adjusted from 6.6 to 6.9 meters a second to be on par with all of the Killers. So I guess his was just slower for some reason. They've also adjusted a good few of his add-ons, which again I'm not covering here, so you may read them on the screen right now if you so wish. Coming up next, we have a very slight adjustment towards the Ghoul in 2 different manners. First up, they've adjusted the reticle stickiness on survivors from 0.18 to 0.05 seconds when attempting Kagari grabs. So if you're unaware, the stickiness of the reticle means that when you take your reticle off of a survivor, it will remain on the survivor for a very brief amount of time. Meaning even if you were to remove your reticle off of the survivor, there would still be a very brief moment you could initiate the attack to actually grab somebody. So now it is at the point where it is basically non-existent. They've also updated the automatic hit detection that occurs at the end of a Kagane Elite vault when a survivor attempts to vault back towards the killer to assure a greater consistency. This is also relating to something not many people actually know about. When the Ghoul vaults a pallet and the survivor is still within a very close proximity range of the pallet, there will be an automatic hit that will hit the survivor for a damage state, instead of just putting your power on cooldown and leaving you in a slowed state. They don't specify what they actually specifically changed, they just said they updated the detection, so we'll find out as we play the games, I guess. Alright, coming up next, we actually have an adjustment to the Fog Vial items. They've reworked the Fog Cloud visual effect and the rendering method. The opacity inside and outside its bounds is now consistent across all realms, and it is always fully opaque when viewed from the outside, compared to it being slightly see-through from the edges. It also adapts to each realm's unique lighting and color, so that way it'll remain consistent on the opacity regardless of what realm or lighting you have. However, the following essential auras are always displayed through fog, because if you don't remember, While anyone is inside of the fog, whether it's killer or survivor, their ore will be hidden from anyone trying to view it from the outside. Down survivors and hook survivors will now be revealed, regardless if there's fog in the area or not. They've also increased the number of charges that each of the fog vials have from 2 to 4, so they actually have twice the amount of uses now. And finally, they've adjusted the visceral/iridescent rarity add-on, the potent extract. They've increased the fog cloud increased opacity bonus from 5% to 100%. This may seem like a lot, but this is just compensation to fix how the changes are towards the fog's opacity from the interior. Alright, moving on to the survivor perk changes. We have fast track, where it is getting a complete rework. Whenever another survivor is hooked, you earn 1, 2, or 3 tokens up to a maximum of 9, and while repairing, whenever you get a great basic skill check, you will spend all tokens, and for each token spent, the generator gains 2 permanent charges. This seems like a pretty hefty change if you ask me. After that, we have another rework for a survivor perk called self-preservation. When another survivor is hooked, you will gain the elusive status effect for 20, 25, and 30 seconds. If you're unaware, the elusive status effect will make it so that you will have no grunts of pain, no scratch marks, no pools of blood, and your aura will not be able to be revealed. Alright, moving on towards the killer perk changes, we're starting with Hex Crowd Control, which is getting another rework. The first time a survivor medium or fast vaults a window, a dull totem will ignite, creating the Hex totem for crowd control. While this Hex totem is active, the last 4, 5, or 6 windows survivors medium or fast vault are blocked. You basic vault blocked windows 15% faster, and you can see the auras of blocked windows within 24 meters. After that, we have Pop Goes the Weasel, which is getting a slight change. Whenever you hook a survivor, for the next 35, 40, or 45 seconds, when you damage a generator, it explodes and loses 15% more progress. This is a change from how it used to be 20% of the current progress, now it is total progress only. This makes it so it's always going to lose the exact same amount of progress instead of being dependent on the current progress that is already made on the generator. Alright, so while we're on the topic of perks, we shall talk about the brand new survivor Tae-Young. Starting off with one of his 3 new perks, we're going to be starting off with Flow State. Whenever a generator is completed, you will earn 1 token up to a maximum of 5, and for each token you possess, you will bless and cleanse totems 8, 9, and 10% faster, you will heal 8, 9, and 10% faster, and you will unhook survivors 8, 9, and 10% faster. After that, we have a Place for Us. While healing another survivor, you will both gain the elusive effect. Kinda just a better bite the bullet at this point. Whenever you finish healing the Obsession, they gain the elusive status effect for 20, 25, and 30 seconds. When the trial starts, you are less likely to be the Obsession. After that, we have 5 moves ahead. While you are in the killer's terror radius or being chased by the killer, you see the auras of the 5 closest pallets or windows. You will also drop pallets 50% faster, and whenever you drop a pallet, this perk will go on cooldown for 30, 25, and 20 seconds. Alright, as for one of the new systems they've added, they now have the options for aura customization, meaning that you now have the option to customize some auras on the beta tab. Some options range from the auras of survivors, killers, hooked and dying survivors, normal hooks, generators, pallets, windows, and more. And in addition to this, there is a new option in the store with a clear all button to remove all active notifications. You no longer have to sit there and look at it for the entirety of an update. After that, there is brand new prestige menu and reward system. There's a new way to track your rewards for unlocking things with prestiging characters, such as how it usually is with the bloody cosmetics, the charms, and the unlockable perks. There are also new rewards given at prestige 25, 50, 75, and 100 per character. These include icons of the character that has the prestiges, and there is the option to switch between the rewarded player icons in the selection menu. Alright, and that's going to wrap it up for this video on the patch notes for the public test build of 9.5.0 with the all-kill comeback updates. Personally, I think this is a fantastic change with the amount of stuff that they're adding, the whole rework of the Trickster feeling so nice and smooth and ultimately just much more fun, and the whole new map that we are getting is just so right up my alley. I love the neon aesthetic, and I'm going to have a lot of fun with it. So let me know what you guys think. Do you like it as much as I do, or am I just too easily pleased and have fun with things? Who knows? And before we end things off, I'd like to give a big thanks to one of my best friends, Lady Bun Bun, who's the one that helped me record all of the footage in these clips, so it made it so that displaying everything was a lot more easier for me. Go check her out on both Twitch and YouTube. She's an absolute sweetheart and very fun person to be around.
I know he's older, but he has looked good at every...
Well, with all that out of the way, I'll quit yapping, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Thank you again.